Blessings.
So what's going on in your world, Matthew? What's happening?
Oh, well, I'm excited to be here. I'm just sharing this to my page.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it's a good time to be here in upstate New York because the weather is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, it's just unbelievable right now. 60, 70, sunny every day, a little bit of rain. How about over there?
It's nice over here. It's nice over here when I get out. Yeah, I mean, I got a little suntan.
I see that.
Finally.
You got a little sun going.
Yeah, we got a little bit going. What's been
If I, if,
happening? What's what's
well,
been what's been happening, man? I mean, it's been the big buzz on this show for the last week, especially the last week. But really, it's been a lot of activity for the whole month. This month
yeah,
has been really big. But this last 7 or 8 days, there's been a lot of people writing about these intense energies, intense lucid dreams, intense memories coming back,
yep,
purging,
yep,
masculine wounds, just people use the term timeline shift,
yep.
but it's taken on like a new meaning, almost like
Yeah,
a dimensional shift. But
yeah,
I don't know what your insight is. I figure we just jump right into it, though.
yeah. Let's do it. Well, I mean, as you know, I kind of like to relate astrology to things, and are just coming off of that Scorpio full moon,
Yeah.
and that Scorpio energy. I've been feeling it. I know a lot of people have been feeling that Scorpio energy, which is really that deep emotional energy, the emotional purging, the karmic purging. In a way, Scorpio is really the sign of karma, because karma is death and rebirth. When we are purging karma, when we're transmuting karma, it means we're being reborn. We're rebirthing ourselves into our new, the new us, the new body, the new place where we're at in our life. So that's the real Scorpio energy, that nitty gritty kind of deep inner work. And so, a lot of people, one of the things I wrote in my last article and transmission for this last full moon was, we really need to give people the benefit of the doubt around this time, give people leeway. It's a potent time, and it can be a time where it's easy for people to get into some interpersonal, scuffles,
Mm-hmm.
and some emotions can come out, especially in close relationships like partnerships or in
I've been
family relationships.
Yeah, I've been
You know,
watching it. I have been watching it go on.
yeah,
No
and it
doubt.
happens to the best of us. I'm not immune from it. I don't know if there's anyone who's totally immune from having those emotions come up. It's always a practice to, the more that we're able to be in control of who we are, as in when the emotion comes up, it's like, all right, first thing I can do, if I can take a breath before I respond, right, then I'm much more likely to respond in a much higher vibrational way. But that's kind of what's been going on in the personal side of things, is that's those Scorpio energies of negotiating relationships, transmuting the karma within, the themes of sex and lust and all that coming up around the Scorpio moon. And on a grander scale, the Schumann has been going off this week like usual, kind of in a rhythm.
More than
And
usual, though, hasn't it?
yeah, it
It's
is. You're right. It is.
like
I have noticed that as
the
well.
last 72 hours has just been insane.
You're right.
But
I
I think before that period, I remember seeing a post leading up to the 72, because actually Morgan actually went to one of the sites where you can see real time,
oh,
and
okay.
it was saying how it had reached 72 hertz
Yeah, I saw that.
twice within a
Yeah.
certain period, and then the next one started, which
Yeah.
is the one that came out through last night Central Time or Eastern Time, or UTC time, and it was 3 times I think it hit 72.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's a lot of purging, and it's a lot of really almost like that nervous energy. And when we start to feel that nervous energy, it's something that I've definitely felt in my body over the past week, especially. Not so much. Sometimes we'll get into, at least my experiences, we'll get into kind of rhythms with the the Schumann or the geostorms, where in my body I feel very flattened, like no energy, like just flattened. Whereas, and I'd love to hear others' experience, but this past week for me, it's been more the other side of the pendulum of like a little bit of that nervous, jittery energy within. And to me, that's that energy of purging and burning. It's like it's almost every one of our cells that is just letting go. So we're being burned by this high frequency energy, right? That's been my experience of it, at least. And I would imagine that we may see a bit more of a calm over the next few days or the next week, and then they might ramp back up again right after the new moon. That would be my feeling, but I could be wrong.
Well, that'd be good. Now, what about
Yeah.
because I don't follow that stuff. I'm learning more about it, and just through osmosis of the work I do.
Mm-hmm.
But Scorpio moon,
Yeah,
really seemed to be something that both ends of the extremes
exactly.
of sexual power
Yep.
were in our face.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we were observing it, we were feeling it. I mean, however you want to put it, it was there. And
Yeah.
and that brings up to me, although Morgan's been talking to me about this for 3 or 4 years, I'm starting to understand it more. Alison Ingle talks about it. I'm talking about polarities, and there's a lot of that involved in the archetypal structure of astrology, as I'm starting to understand. There's a lot of, yin and yang, or whatever, dark and light, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm starting to see how beneficial that is to integrating and getting to the quintessential 0 point,
Right. Yep.
by, in other words, I had a friend come in the other day, and she says to me, I was married to this type of person, like a narcissist, an overtaker, and she said, I don't understand that. I can't be that. I'm not that. And I said, well, oneness is oneness. So, and this is something I learned. I didn't come up with this. I've been told this a lot in working with Morgan and others, and that is that overtaker cannot exist without an overgiver. So it's like, what I'm saying is there's a science to this whole polarity thing, where if you look for the polarity that you think you're not, you will actually be able to bring to balance whatever that unbalanced frequency is in your field. Is that something that you get into?
Yeah. So when we talk about polarity, of course, this is the nature of the game. The nature of the game of playing in the third dimension is polarity. So the polarity, when we become aware and awake, we're able to recognize that the polarity is always there to teach, and that when we're looking to heal something within, just like you were saying, we can look at the kind of the opposite thing of it, or the thing that is kind of driving us, right? The thing that is kind of getting at us, or for example, like in relationships. So it's like, let's say you're in a relationship with your partner, and when we look at something like triggers, well, the trigger, whatever that trigger is, there's some sort of thing there. And if you look at perhaps what the polar opposite vibration of that trigger, so for example, if the trigger for someone is, saying something that perhaps implies that they're not capable, right? So the defense structure is like, no, I am capable, and that anger of like, God, right? Yeah, I can do everything. I can conquer the world. But what's underneath that is actually the polar opposite of that, is feeling worthless, or feeling like, I'm not good enough, or I can't do anything right. And that's that stuff that comes from childhood. So, in relationships, in a karmic, like a karmic soulmate relationship, which is a little bit different than the twin flame relationship, at least from my book and my field of study. The twin flame relationship is that it's yourself. It is your own soul. It is you have come back together with yourself. and it tends to be a fairly graceful relationship. I mean, there's going to be, you know, pitfalls here and there, and there's going to be issues and arguments and all that. But in general, it's pretty graceful. Whereas the karmic soulmate relationships, which is what we go in several times, if not more than several, before the twin flame relationship, can be more rocky, and there can be a lot more issues, and all that wounding, that inner wounding is coming up. The childhood wounding, which also relates to the past life wounding. It's what your soul came into this lifetime for you to move through and transmute, so that you can become a completely different person, so that you can model and teach to others how to become a completely different and healed person. So that's why in those types of karmic soulmate relationships, the polarity gets really, really emphasized. You know, everything gets illuminated. And that's what, you know, we talk about Scorpio. I know we're not in Scorpio sun season, but Scorpio moon season over these 2 weeks here. Everything tends to be amplified when it comes to relationships, or it comes to, you know, even little stuff we say to each other online or in the comments section. Everything just has more of a weight to it. It's because it's an invitation for us to see, all right, what is this? Why am I being triggered by this? And what is this really pointing to within me that is an insecurity? And that's that when you see that polarity, like, this thing, it makes me feel this way, but it's actually pointing to the opposite, that I'm feeling unworthy, or I'm feeling not good enough, or I'm feeling abandoned, or I'm feeling neglected, or any of that sort of stuff. Those are kind of like those core wounds: the neglect, the abandonment, the insufficiency, the not feeling good enough, the not feeling capable. We all have that. Humanity itself, the entire collective consciousness of humanity, has that core wound of being insufficient. Why? Well, because our reptilian fathers, so to speak, turned off our DNA, turned off that 13th strand of DNA, so to speak, right? And they made sure that we stayed feeling. And why was religion created? Why was the whole patriarchy economical system created? It's all about making us feel insufficient, like we need something on the outside. We need that fatherly God to be whole, right? So now this is the journey, not just individually, but collectively, of coming back into our collective power.
Yeah, that's a really good synopsis. We needed to be controlled, protected, saved, and all that stuff.
In order to eventually learn to overcome all that, and to come back into our own power,
right? By the grand design,
right.
Which is where we're at now,
right?
Where we have at least a small, strong minority of souls, because it only takes one.
Right.
But we've got more than one. This is not the age of Jesus and Magdalene or Buddha or Confucius. This is the age of the whole world awakening.
Right.
So we now have this happening. We have the human hybrid soul going through this transition. And I'm here to say today, like I did in the first hour, it's no longer a valid excuse to say, well, I'm only human. That is the part of us that was affected, the one that you're identifying. How do we navigate, transform, transmute, transition? How do we claim this 13th strand? How do we put it into force? How do we actualize it? How do we manifest and create? This is what I want to know at a human level, that a human can understand, but at the intuitive level as well. We are a blend of the physical and the non-physical. We're integrating every single polarity there is, including gender. And I mean that from an energetic standpoint.
No, it's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
But we are physical matter bringing into our being all the non-physical multidimensionality.
Exactly.
We are doing this
all
now.
from all. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think the energies will support this conversation and this, for lack of a better word, agenda, this mission. I think the energies will support that now, even if it's only 100,000 of us or 1 million of us or whatever the number is. I believe it'll support us. How do we embrace and claim and own our divinity and be that?
Yeah. So the biggest word that comes to mind, and I'm vibrating as this comes through to me right now, is courage. That is such an important word for this time, for the full moon that just passed, for this summer, for this year and beyond, is courage. And it's courage to be who you are meant to be.
Yeah.
And when people come to me, I work with people almost every single day over the phone. And so much of what I do is bringing out what is meant to come out of someone, bringing out their service work, bringing out their life work, bringing out that twin flame, that relationship that's supposed to come to them, bringing out better health, bringing out better mental health, a stronger discipline, a stronger mental discipline. And this all takes courage. You know, there's two people that are in the same position. They both have, I don't know, they're riddled with some sort of disease. You know, maybe they have cancer or something. Maybe they have some sort of, like, you know, weird long-term Epstein-Barr virus, and they got muscle fatigue and whatever, you know. And one person can come to someone like me or any other healer and get all this information, like, here's some supplements that might help you, here's what you need to do, here's how to control your mind, here's how to visualize yourself being healed. And two people can have the exact same information, and one can take it and run with it and see the most miraculous healing, and the other can kind of stay stuck, because it comes down to courage. Do you have the courage to follow through? Do you have the courage to have that mental discipline? You know, so much of what we're learning now is mental discipline. You know, I do Tai Chi, and it's taught me so much about that mental discipline and about the physical discipline and all that. You know, Qigong, martial arts are great for that. You know, yoga is fantastic for teaching that, right? You know, any type of meditation that is not, you know, most of us are really, our third eyes are all open. Everyone listening here, your third eye is totally open. And if you ever think it's not, it is, trust me. But a lot of us feel so much more comfortable up in the upper chakras. And the challenge is getting down into the lower chakras. This has been my challenge over the past 8 to 10 years, right? And I'm still working on it every day. So when we do something like, it is much more valuable for a lot of us to have a practice, for example, when we're just doing a simple breathing meditation where we're focusing on stilling the mind, rather than a meditation where we're out in the astral plane, we're playing in a guided meditation. Those are great too, but we need to have some sort of discipline where we're learning to control the mind. When we learn to control the mind, that takes courage, and that is bringing us back to our power center. You know, your power is not up here, it's here. Your power center is here. You operate from here, and you use this as a tool to figure stuff out, to make plans, and to visualize and project and create, you know, energy around you and everything else you do with your third eye. So it's about coming back. It's all about coming back into that solar plexus power center. It's about courage. So whatever those things are that you have been wanting to do this year, do it. You know, those things that you want to change careers, you want to move, you want to leave your partner, you want to ask that person out, whatever it is, courage will pay off this year. And I keep telling people that, and it's true.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. You know, I've been saying it on here. I added the word courage. This is spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and I would say sometimes courageous. It's courageous to get out here and bare your soul and be raw and be real.
Yeah.
I think we're not moving into, we're in a different place now. We're absolutely in a different place. Our greatest contribution is not what we can give in terms of the translation of the infinite intelligence that we receive, the communion, the skills, the abilities, the directions that we're giving in giving to others. That's important. But first and foremost, to thine own self be true. What have you learned for you? What have you learned for you that you do, that you master? Because just by the vibrational energy of mastery, you don't have to say a word to anyone.
No, you're right. You're right.
You are a illuminated
You're
soul that is beaming out into the non-physical that is being picked up consciously now in the physical. So this is what I'm getting at. To leave the old behind. I'm not knocking what you do or anyone else does, you know, but today is not yesterday. Today, there's a different game. Ascension is a different game today, and it will be a different game tomorrow. Nothing that we've gained or gotten up to this point will serve us after the present moment. It's like the Akashic. We didn't come into this thing and say, okay, here's the Akashic, go play the game. That's not it. We came into this game to expand the Akashic. The only way to do that is to do it new, to do new creative ways, create new ways. There's people doing it. And I think the only way that I see that we can actually get there is to talk about it, is to break away from the old paradigms and the old practices. And I find that in this work that I do, that the biggest activations come when people get on this show and they're raw and they're real and they're authentic and they cry and they laugh and they said, oh shit, the universe has got me by the ass. Oh shit, I don't know the answer to that question. Oh shit, I don't know what to do. Okay? This is where I think the gold is. This is the shadow. You know, this is what the dark mother is bringing to light. This is what the earth's been missing. Just the truth, you know, the truth with no mask, no nothing. And that's my question. I'm not picking on you. I'm actually asking this because I live in the moment now and I'm engrossed in what's happening over the last few days. I'm asking the universe, how do we do this? What can we do? What can we do to transmute and transform from human beings with a low perception of themselves to divine human beings? And I can't think of any other way, based on what I've received in my divine partnership from this divine feminine, what I get personally, what I experience here on this show, than to actually be that. To be that. I think we're moving away from words, and I'm a talker, so I'll be out of a job.
Todd, I would say I don't think we're moving away from words. I think that we're just starting to speak more of our truth. We're starting to move into our throat chakras are becoming more and more of a higher vibrational energy as we get along this path. And that's why people will go from, for example, you know where my work is, and I kind of deal really in the physical and in the world. That's what I like to do. I like to take people from where they are in the world to still being in the world, but in a much better place vibrationally. So,
Absolutely.
you know, if someone moves from, you know, working a job where they feel like it's not serving them anymore, where they feel like, you know, their energy is just being kind of used up, and they say, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do some life coaching, or I'm going to learn how to do acupuncture or be a naturopath or whatever like that, or be a yoga teacher or whatever. And they do it. And all of a sudden they start feeling more confident than ever before. They start feeling like they're on their path. Like that feeling that you're on your path, which is, I every day I wake up and I look at my day, and I got my clients and I got whatever else I'm going to do with my business. This is my whole life. I mean, it's not really my business. It's my life. It's my whole life. And I've never felt more before like I'm on my path. And when you feel like you're truly on your path, it's a great feeling, and it means you're truly being of service. You know, how the question you were kind of going on with is, how do we do this? And the answer is, we're already doing it. We're already doing it. The more that we affirm that we're already doing it, the more that it is happening. This is a faith-based journey. We already are doing it. How do we transmute stuff? Well, by going through it, by experiencing it, by experiencing the anger, the rage, and it doesn't mean expressing on another person. It just means feeling it. That's all it is. How do we transmute anger? We feel it and we honor it. How do we transmute, you know, sadness and neglect and abandonment within? We feel it, we honor it, and then we become better. We're always becoming better. And as we become a better and more healed person, as we become more closer to our higher self, closer to who our higher self truly is, who our soul self truly is, the more that soul light shines through, you just become a beacon for light to shine through you, literally and figuratively. And that's how you know we're doing it. So this is an individual and a collective journey. When people try to rush ahead and try to figure out how do we get this all done, you're missing the point. The point is you start with the individual journey. The collective journey works itself out as we work our individual journeys out. Each and every one of us has a playing field that we're meant to play on. And the playing field, you know, is our family, our relationship. It is our work. It is, you know, how we show ourselves in the world. It's whatever health issues we have to go through. It's whatever, you know, whoever hurt us in the past. Like, this is our playing field. And as we begin to master our playing field, as we begin to become the person we're always meant to become, collectively, everyone starts to do that, and humanity collectively starts to take its power back, and then the dominoes fall. So, you've heard me before. This is kind of what I teach: is we work on ourselves and we let everything else around us fall. If you are in a position of politics, then that's different, because then you have a position to actually make a change.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, the 20% thinking.
Go ahead. How do we work on ourselves?
Yeah.
What's the primary method of working on ourselves?
The primary method of working on ourselves is awareness. So that the first step to shifting anything is awareness. So we have to be able to become aware of ourselves. So when we can take a step back, and it's not easy to do, and it takes, the moment you are able to become aware of yourself in a greater capacity than you ever have before, it means that you have really reached a very high level of your spiritual development, because 99% of the world or more is not aware of their own patterns. They are not aware of the subconscious patterns within that run them. I'll never forget an LSD journey that I took 10 years ago. This was at the very beginning of my awakening journey. And it was at like 6 o'clock in the morning after being up all night. And I'm looking around and watching people, watching a guy walk his dog, watching birds fly from one place to the next, watching the cars go to work and all that. And I just really realized how everyone is running on a program. And even the animals are running on a program. It's almost like a computer simulation. Everyone is running on a program. And these programs are subconscious patterns that are instilled in your mind, in your subconscious, between the ages of 0 and 6, when your brain is closer to what's called theta state, which is when you're most malleable. And when you're in that state, all of the words and actions that you perceive, whether they come from your parents, the other people who are around you, from the television, from the radio, etc., or subconscious, advertising or whatever, it gets imprinted in there. And then all of a sudden you have a worldview and you have a way of being. This is why we can have the same types of reactions to our parents when we're 50 as when we were 5 or 10. Because the patterns never healed themselves. We're running on the pattern. Yeah. So when we are able to take a step back, so a practice that everyone can do is, you can even kind of do it right now while I'm speaking, is, take a deep breath and travel to a place above yourself. Bring your consciousness above yourself. And when you bring your consciousness above yourself, it gives you a sense of detachment from the density of your experience. And from that place, just try to observe, and if you can do this later as well, try to observe the types of patterns and reactions that you've had today. Any of the negativity. Can you think of a time today when you said something negative to yourself, when you had thoughts of worry, when you perhaps felt like other people were better than you, or felt perhaps like someone was putting you down, or the universe was keeping you down, or you're being victimized in some way? Any of those shadow energies. At the moment we can just become aware of one pattern that we're running on, we then have such a power to shift it. And how do we shift it? First, you become aware, then you acknowledge it. You acknowledge it, then, and just acknowledging something. We talk about the shadow. The shadow loves to play, and the shadow will keep playing in your experience until you acknowledge its right to exist.
Yeah.
So then the third step is to give it its right to exist, to acknowledge the divinity of all of those things within you that are ugly, that you don't want to show to others, right? To acknowledge their divinity, to acknowledge their right to exist, right? And when you can do that, then the next step is some sort of either affirmation or some sort of thing that brings you to a higher dimensional place. So the negative thoughts start, I'll give you an exercise that I use. The negative thoughts start going in my head. And it happens to me. The negative thoughts start going. I feel myself kind of getting into a negative spiral of consciousness. I say no, either out loud or in my head. I say, I don't even have to do it much anymore. I just immediately, it stops. I just say, no, I'm not listening to that. And then I reroute my attention. You can reroute your attention to something that is fun or like laughter, any funny, anything like that, or you bring it back to gratitude, because the moment we express gratitude for anything in your experience, that brings you into the fifth dimensional consciousness, into the unity consciousness, into the heart center, which it obliterates the subconscious patterns in that moment. You can't be operating from some sort of negative pattern when you're expressing gratitude. If you were grateful, if you were to walk around an entire day and just be grateful all the time, you would be in a state of bliss. You can't be grateful without feeling good. And that's how we know anything that feels good, that is our true state. That is who we're becoming. We are becoming these heart-centered beings operating from love, because it's a loving universe. So that's just a little tool that I teach and I use. But the most important part of that is the first part, is just becoming aware. Become aware of your patterns. Become aware of the negative patterns, the self-sabotage, patterns of sabotage within. How do you sabotage yourself? How do things not work for you when you thought they would? Things like that. Become aware of those patterns, because you don't need to keep taking them with you. Those are patterns you picked up from your parents, and you're not your parents. You're becoming a much better person.
Yeah. And the awareness, how do you have the awareness? I mean, there's modalities and there's exercises, but for each and every one of us, there's triggers. Like, even if we're not consciously looking for or working with the modality or process or technique, because there's many, we all get triggered.
Yeah.
And we get triggered in a way where we can be very demonstrative, and we get triggered in ways where we're just in our head.
Yes.
So
yes.
that to me would seem to be the one common denominator that everybody goes through, that could become consciously aware of, versus learning this modality or that modality, because there's many. Everybody gets triggered. Everybody gets becomes uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And askew.
Yeah.
And is there any?
And that's a good point. So when you get triggered by something, something that 99% of the world doesn't do is examine, why did that trigger me? Why did I react like that? What is it within that I'm trying to protect? What is it within where I don't feel adequate, or I don't feel loved, or I feel abandoned? And then you could use one of the modalities, like, for example, just a very simple thing like finding a spot in your body, breathing into it, sending violet light to it, feeling whatever emotions come up, and even making yourself kind of feel the pain and crying a little bit. Those are some simple things, and they do make a real difference. But the real test is when you're not triggered anymore. I mean, we can all sit from this, where we are now, and think of something that used to trigger us.
Someone,
just doesn't.
Something, easy.
Just doesn't anymore. And that's how you've done the karmic work.
Yeah.
It's all within here. All of the work is within here, and the playing field is out there.
But being conscious of being triggered is something we can all do without being taught anything. That's simply rooted in a desire to expand and grow.
Exactly. To become better. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can be conscious. We can be conscious of our triggers and our feelings of being uncomfortable and being thrown off balance by something that's seemingly external. We can do that. Nobody can do it for us. We can do that, though. That's something we all can do.
That's correct.
It happens to everybody, and I think that's something that is. I think it's bigger now than 0.1%. I think it's a bigger number now. I don't.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm not saying about what you said. I'm just saying I think that we got to give ourselves some credit. There's a collective wave. It might be a strong minority, but that's really what people are doing, is they're beginning to examine their triggers.
Yeah.
Which is primarily coming from the external when we're looking at somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's usually more than one thing. It's just the person itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
exactly.
do this or they do that.
Right. And the more they know us and the more we know them, the easier it is, right?
Yeah.
Because when you grow up with someone, right, a brother, a sister, a parent, right, or you've been with a partner for, you know, a year or two or longer, it's like you know every little thing about the other person. And you might even do it unconsciously. It might just kind of, you know, be something that they is there for them to help. You might just say something innocently that you didn't intend to trigger someone, right?
And vice
But
versa.
yeah, exactly.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, again, it's just, let's, you know, over this next week, especially, you know, with Scorpio energies kind of dying out and we're moving into more Gemini, the Gemini moon and all that.
Now,
Let's just give it
what's that going to
what
be like?
the Gemini, Gemini is an air sign, and Gemini is communication, right? So Gemini, we really want to kind of be out there in the world. We want to be very external. We want to allow ourselves to network and to go on dates and to go out in public and to go to, you know, go to the park, go to festivals and all that, to really get yourself out of your shell a little bit. Have the courage to be a little bit social during Gemini season. And we really want to, you know, we want to work, we want to not be too scattered. Gemini is an air sign, and Gemini people, if you have Gemini as your sun or your ascendant, can tend to be a little bit scattered and all over the place and trying to work on too many things at once. So that's kind of the shadow side of Gemini, is too much out there, too much up there and all that. So we want to really just allow ourselves to get out of our shell a little bit, to get out of routine a little bit. And we want to be pushing forward. We want to keep our focus on one or two projects in our life. We want to keep our focus on something that hopefully we've already started, something that we've started already in the past month or a couple months ago. It is a good time, you know, if you're looking to move or change careers, yeah, I would say this is a good time to do that and all that. And as far as on a collective level, there's a bit of feeling of togetherness. There's more of a feeling of togetherness, like we're all in this together. You know, I think after the whole kind of feeling of like, oh, sometimes we butt heads a little bit, you know, with the Scorpio moon into the Gemini new moon, there's a little bit more of that togetherness. So that's why I said, you know, and if you're in a relationship or family, give everyone the benefit of the doubt, you know,
Right.
over this next week. It'll things may smooth out a little bit, you know. Of course, if you're in a relationship that's not working, and it hasn't been working for a while, that's a different story, you know. And then that's a totally
give yourself a break and everybody else, because they're going through the same thing you are.
exactly. We're all subject to the astrological influences. We're all going through the same thing, you know. And what I love is that there's things out there that bridge the 3D world and the 5D world. They bridge the light workers with everyone else. Everyone has an astrological imprint. Astrology is universal. Everyone, you know, can say, oh, I'm a Scorpio or I'm a Pisces, and that means something, right? So it's one of the things that bridges. We have to remember that it's not just us, the light workers, that are going through. We're just the ones aware of all this stuff. But everyone is going through this stuff. You know, even someone, and it's so interesting because I have, for example, I've had a lot of clients who their activation point, their ascension activation didn't happen until they were in their 50s. Their 50s. And it's fascinating. It's happening. People who may have been asleep their entire life are suddenly waking up, and they might be 50 or 60 or 65, right? So we have to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. We never know when someone out there is going to wake up, you know, and it's happening more and more. And we just can look to the mainstream television and all that to see, you know, how mainstream some of these spiritual things are becoming. You know, there's just my parents were telling me about this movie, the dog movie they went, where it's about, you know, dogs reincarnation and their spiritual, you know, ties with humans and all that. I mean, that's a pretty spiritual concept. And, you know, you just look at commercials and everything is yoga and everything is about nutrition and you know, just health and happiness and all that. So it's happening. We have to remember that we're on the leading edge of things, but when we're compassionate towards those who are behind us, so to speak, spiritually, it only helps. The more we try to bridge connections between us and those, it's like we're reaching out to pull people up, rather than I'm up here, I'm this light worker and I know everything, and until these people wake up, I won't even communicate with. That doesn't serve anyone. That doesn't serve anyone anymore. We want to bring people with us, right? So when, you know, it doesn't have to be this kind of like club. There's no light worker club. We want everyone to wake up, because if everyone wakes up, then guess what? The planet is free, and it will happen eventually. It just will take some time.
That's a lot. I don't know. I'm just, I have just the, I question everything. I question the overlay of the stars. I question everything as a potential program. The moon, the sun. I don't know. I don't think we know anything. That's just me.
Oh no, and I'm open to. I'm always open to that. Of course.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I refuse to give. I refuse to give up my dominion. I refuse to follow anything. And this thing gets further and further, as we get further and further into it, the absolutes are becoming minimal, and it is all, it is all my creation. It is all my creation. And it's not something that can be seen or felt or explained in human terms. It's what Magdalene did, what Jesus did, what many other souls did. And we're only talking about going back 3,000 years. We have no idea what the hell was going on before then. It's like the mystery will never leave. The mystery will never go away. And I still say, we're the dog chasing its tail. We are it. We are that. And how the hell do we know that we're not all beating at the same vibration? It just doesn't look that way. How do we know? We don't. So all we got left when it's all said and done is all we need, and that's me, or you. I don't know anything beyond that. But it's a hell of a ride. There's something exciting happening. There's no doubt about that. And maybe we are just absolutely, when you get right down to it, creation in the flesh. That's like you said, becoming aware is the first step. Whether you're removing a shadow or learning to create the magic that you can create, if those are not one and the same thing, in the paradox of the universe, I mean, the shadow, if the shadow's filling up the vessel, then it's got to be blocking something, or until it's transformed, or until it's emptied, or however you want to put it.
Right, and it's experience. From my school of thought, it's karma. And what does karma mean? Karma is action. It's actions that have been taken by your soul, you, the higher you, in previous lifetimes, that then you want to experience the other side. So it's the basic template is this: is you, your soul, in a previous lifetime, perhaps did something that was out of alignment with love. That accumulates what we call karma. And then your soul also wants to experience the other side of that in a different lifetime. So it experiences the other side of that, experiences that same action from the perspective of the victim, right? Then into the ascension lifetime, it has to be balanced. And how does it get balanced? Usually a small or sometimes significant representation of that energy gets re-experienced, usually during childhood, sometimes during teenage years or in your 20s, right? And then you are able to learn through it. It propels you to heal or transform or become different in some way. And then you become different, you become better, and then you teach that or give that back to other people. So it is a process. There is a, I love everything that you're saying, and I'm an open vessel when people speak, and I love hearing everyone's perspectives. We don't see things exactly the same way, and kind of, when you're saying, well, what if there is no real astrology here? What if we're just chasing our own tails? And I would say that, at least from what my belief is that this is a very carefully and extremely complex game. And there are rules of the game. There are rules of the game, meaning you keep moving forward, and whatever karma is accumulated, you transmute to move forward. You move forward through the hierarchy of the dimensions, 1D being a bacteria or just a simple organism, 2D, lower 2D being plants, higher 2D being animals, up until you get animals that are really close to human consciousness, 3D, the human experience, the cycle of reincarnation, the recycling of the soul, right? And then until we get to the upper 3D, when we're getting ready for the ascension, then we dive into the ascension process, and then we move into the 4D and the 5D, perhaps serving as spirit guides, perhaps becoming collectives, joining collective consciousnesses, or in higher dimensions of extraterrestrial life, right? And then perhaps later we're creating. Bless you, Todd.
Thank you.
Then we're helping to create planets or galaxies or universes. So to me, there is a whole hierarchy to the game, and there is a linear progression that you can kind of see, although it is also completely non-linear. It's both. It's just like I think I said last time, everything is a paradox. It is both.
It is
and yes, it is also true that there is nothing but yourself. Absolutely.
It is
that we are everything. Absolutely. You are the universe, I am the universe, I am God, you are God, we are love, we are each other. That's all true. But yet we also have our own specific journeys, and yet there is also a specific Earth collective journey. So it's games within the big game, and the big game is just so expansive. Just look at the sky and look at how many stars there are. Each one of those stars is planets that have life in them, and this is just a speck.
Yeah. Well, it is and it isn't.
Exactly. It's a paradox.
That's why I said it. It's coming down to more simple terms for me. I don't know. It's not that I don't. I think the dog chasing its tail is a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. We've gone down all these roads. I see them as programs too. I mean, how do I know ascension's not a program?
Perhaps it is. Perhaps it is. It's like the God or the galactic consciousness takes
from a higher level. Yeah.
The USB chip of ascension and inserts it into our sun or into the center of the Milky Way, and then all of a sudden this light is coming out in the photon belt.
How do we know that the Galactic Federation's not a program? How do we know that it's not all just propaganda coming from a higher level? If we can be duped in the third dimension, in this realm, in the conscious realm,
I see what
for
you're saying.
so many years. So it all goes back to the sovereignty of the soul. I'm sovereign in any dimension, any time,
right?
Any alternate universe, any parallel life, anything, anywhere, any place, anytime. If I'm conscious of my sovereignty and I claim it, that energy itself will take care of itself. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you believe you're here for a reason?
Absolutely.
What is that reason? What would
to live?
Okay.
To live. That's all I got.
Anything else?
Anything else? Do I have understandings of my purposes? Yes, but that's only relevant to me. I'm in a divine conscious union. I'm part of an energy called Soulogy.
Well, let me ask you this:
but essentially, I take you as recent as yesterday. I went through a process with Morgan. We connected together as we often do. We asked for assistance, as we sometimes do, and we were both told, without speaking to each other, this was all telepathic. Are you willing to give everything up? Are you willing to give everything up? Now, did I hear the same voice she heard? I don't know. I can't prove it. Did I know what she was asked? No. Did she know what I was asked? No. Not by conscious verbalization. But both of us answered. She said yes. I said, give it up for what? And they said, the purest truth, the highest, the one. And I said, yes. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that and then an elevation came. And what I'm trying to say is that yeah, I think it's all about living. But would I give up Soulogy tomorrow, my role in Soulogy, or anything and everything else to continue living? Yes, absolutely. Not out of survival, out of expansion. So,
Right, but if Soulogy is meant for you, which obviously it is because you're doing it, then why you wouldn't have to give it up? Basically, what I would say is, are you willing to be totally aligned with your life plan, which you may not be aware of? Are you willing to totally go along with the ride, whether you can figure it out or whether you think it's right?
I think that
and I'm not sending you out. I'm saying this
I know
is
you're
a
not,
teaching point.
but I think where most of us are at is that we're following a higher guidance, but we can't be attached to anything. Because when you're attached, that's separation.
Yes, and when you're speaking about, you're right. You're right.
If you're attached to what you do, your vocation, your energy of your organization, whatever it may be,
right.
that's separation. I was shown 6 prophets, Jesus and Magdalene, in my early awakening, and very, very real, like many people have had, very real experiences. I was told many things. I never took them literally. I knew not to. I was lucky. I don't know what you want to call it, but whatever. I still think everyone's beating at the same vibration, just doesn't look that way. And when we think that we're not, and when we think that somebody's not saved or not awake, that's separation. Period.
Okay.
To your point, your business is your business. Your business is your life. Not to change the attitudes of each and everybody. Not me either. Our business is our business. Our life is our life. But if I had the thought that somebody is not awake, that is a superiority thought.
I would disagree. I would disagree, and I would say that everything is a spectrum. So there are spectrums of awakening, and it just means that they haven't been activated yet.
Well, that's
because it's not in their life plan.
I agree with that, but what I'm going down is to the core issue. Oneness is oneness. Oneness is oneness.
Oh yes, and that's
so
exactly.
If you look at somebody who you say is not awake because they're in a pattern, how do you know or not know that in the infinite wisdom of the perfect order of this universe, multiverse, source, God, goddess, that role isn't even greater than yours?
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. And all right, so here's the thing. If everyone on this planet went through an awakening at the exact same moment, we would have freaking chaos and it wouldn't work. We need people to be running the infrastructure of the planet. We need things to happen slowly and in stages, right? That's why I said when we are not out on our high horse and I'm more awake than everyone else, and we're reaching out and connecting with others, the person who is at a higher level of consciousness has a greater responsibility to connect with those. And I know, but you know what I'm saying. I think that's the person who has become more aware and more awake to their own patterns and to love has a greater responsibility to reach out to others who perhaps hasn't and connect in little ways. Now, it doesn't mean you let your energy be drained by others. It does not mean your boundaries are not important, because they certainly are. But we want to bridge the worlds. We want to bridge the worlds, because what we don't want, and I think perhaps this is somewhat what you're getting at, or at least where we can kind of bridge our teachings together, is that we don't want a world where you got the 5D people and the 3D people and they're pulling apart, because that's just more separation duality. We want to bridge the worlds and we want to bring everyone in. And when I say 5D people, I'm just using it as a nomer, as we oscillate between the 3D and the 5D all the time. The 3D and the 5D. We're constantly going back and forth. Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just drilling it down to the I am soul.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to bridge our teachings together.
Yeah, basically. If you or I or anyone else, and I think everybody does, want to save the world, wants to serve the collective, the best thing you can do is mind your own business. And what I mean by that is that that's a street vernacular, but mind your own business. To thine own self be true. Listen to your higher guidance. Do what it says. That's what I was saying earlier.
Oh,
That's what we're
absolutely.
doing.
Yes, and that's what I
That's
mean
the
by
best.
courage. It takes
That's
courage to do that, doesn't
that's the
it?
best thing we can do. That's the
It
best thing we can do for ourselves. And when we do that, that's the best thing we can do for the collective. You know,
it
I
takes
don't know.
courage to do that. Yep.
I mean, I just have seen too much of a false narrative, too much evidence. If you go back to the Nag Hammadi, you know, just the Nag Hammadi, not even talking about, you know, some of the other older oral traditions, oral histories. There's been too much interference. How do we know? I'm going to question every single thing. In your heart, you know what aligns. That's intuition. That's the God seed, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I just think that our focus is the I am. It is. And how can I be the I am that if I am not that? Right? You know, if I am not that, or they are not that. If they are not that, then I am not that, because they're me. So how can I be the I am that? You know, it's an interesting conversation.
And
I
again,
mean, it's an interesting conversation, and I think we're saying the same thing. I'm just trying to say that
and
we change everything by changing ourselves. You know, that's all.
right. And to just kind of bridge our teachings and our perspectives together a little bit, like I had said before, when we're giving others the benefit of the doubt, we're giving the world the benefit of the doubt, realizing that they may not have learned or had access to some of the same things. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, you just went down.
Todd, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I was saying, so just if we're giving, I had to plug my phone in and take the earphones off. But if we're giving the world the benefit of the doubt, we're realizing that the world is in its infancy of waking up. We are still in our infancy of waking up. Whatever we know now and we hold as truths. And I love that you know, one of your teaching to me, of course, is that just, of course, we always want to have that humility as teachers and leaders, that we don't know everything, and that things may change, that we may have different perspectives, you know, as time goes on, right? So when we just give others the benefit of the doubt, we give the world the benefit of the doubt, and we allow the world to wake up at its own pace. You said be true to yourself, mind your own shit. Well, yeah, there is a point to that. This is both an individual and a collective journey, so we have to do the inner work, and the inner work starts with awareness. It starts with just becoming more aware of ourselves and operating more from the heart than yesterday, operating more with courage than yesterday, giving others the benefit of the doubt, speaking softly and nicely to ourselves, to others, helping others where we can, spreading joy, smiling, all the simple things, being humans, and I know you had started out by saying, well, I think we have to get beyond. Well, how do we reach to the beyond, to our soul self, and bring down those soul characteristics of love and unity and oneness with all. I am you, you are I, whether we agree or whether we look the same or not. And we bring those into daily life. It's a daily practice. And it's a process that just takes, and you know, and when we start to enjoy it, when we start to truly enjoy, which where I've been at and you've been at for a while, and so many people, you truly enjoy helping others. You truly enjoy being there for someone else. You truly enjoy working on yourself. You truly enjoy feeding yourself the best nutrition, you know, giving yourself the best water, taking care of your body. You start to truly enjoy it. It makes it so much easier, and you model that for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting, fast paced, great 2 hours. Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Matthew.
Todd.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, and do you mind if I just tell people where they can find me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yep. So my website is called youaredivinehuman.org, and all spelled out. You can check out, I have a library of videos and articles, all for free. You can also check out my private sessions. I do a lot of really cool stuff worldwide over the phone and over Skype. I do soul plan readings where I'm connecting in with your spirit guides to read your life plan, just like we were talking a lot about the life plan today, to get a feel for the future for you on your highest possible timeline, and to give you more clarity on your relationships, the karma that you're balancing in your lifetime and with other people, and your soul lessons that you're going through at this time. I offer quantum energy healing coaching sessions where we actually dive in and do some real inner healing work, working on transmuting karma, work on the shadow self and all that, and also working on clearing ancestral patterns, clearing cellular traumas, clearing and activating the chakras, and taking out any blocks and any weird stuff in your aura that you don't want, any implants and all that stuff. We clear all that out and really work on your aura. So we got that. We also got the Starseed sessions, which are really popular. You get to take a journey to your home planet to discover your Starseed essence, to meet your galactic guides, get an activation from your guides. It's really cool if you think you're a Starseed, which most of you or all of you probably are, and you get to just get a really become into much deeper communion with your Starseed self. For those, I offer intuitive nutrition readings. It is also one of my specialty, years of study of herbs and natural healing through just herbs and supplements and through food. So if you have any sort of physical issue or just want to optimize your diet or optimize your health, that would be useful for you. Also, I do past life regressions, travel back in time to past lives to experience what does your soul want you to experience as far as the past life? What are your soul lessons that you're balancing in this life, that you work through this lifetime? What is the past life relationship to it? You know, who were you and your mom in another lifetime that it's the same theme that you're going through now, and you can kind of see the relation to that. It is very healing to see that. And I also offer future life regressions where you're traveling to the future on your highest possible timeline to experience what is meant for you. What are you meant to bring forth? Who are you meant to become? Where are you meant to live? You know, what does your twin flame look like and all that? I mean, perhaps not exactly, but you get an idea of the type of person that you might end up with and all that. And I also offer spiritual mentoring sessions where we're working on just bringing you from a level of consciousness to now to a much higher level, and to help you understand and to help you really, you know, feel like you have confidence in your spiritual path. And I also offer, you know, if more than one of those sound appealing to you, I do offer packages where you get some or all of those, and you get a whole bunch of bonuses too, webinars and, you know, individual consulting between sessions through email and all that. So check that all out on my website. You feel free to message me. I'll post my links below, my website and my Facebook page, and feel free to message me either in my private account, Matthew John, or on my You Are a Divine Human Facebook page.
Oh, your private Facebook.
Yeah. You can message me on my private Facebook. I have no problem.
And what's the other one on Facebook?
My business or my brand page is You Are a Divine Human, and I'll post the link.
Yeah, post the links.
Yeah,
post the links.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Fun.
You're very welcome.
I love doing this. Thank you.
All right, brother. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.